Beat it up like.
Welcome back. Today I'll be reacting to another episode of the Terrell Show with Kelly Price. Kelly Price is a name that I've heard a lot over the years, but I've never acquainted myself with her body of work, or maybe I have, but I just don't know. But regardless, let's get into it. Y'all know how I feel about the Terrell Show. I love it. Shout out to him and everything he's doing. If you haven't subscribed to him by now, do it. All right, let's jump into it.
Been with one of the greatest vocalists, artists, period. One of the greatest to do it. Please give me the warmest of applause for Kelly Price.
Thank you, guys.
Miss Kelly Price.
Hello, my darling.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here to cap off this season.
I'm excited.
I'll tell you this. I was in the bed this morning, okay? Just brushing up on some of her live performances. And I told you, I couldn't even finish some of them.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't. Could I do it?
You were angry.
It made me mad. I was upset at how great you were.
Oh, my God.
Was I yesterday? Was I not pausing like, I can't finish this?
Wow.
It's unfair.
That's amazing. Thank you.
That's how you affect the world with your gift, with your talent for over 30 years.
Yeah.
Over
That's good.
3 decades.
I'm not mad. Thank you, Jesus. I appreciate
Won't he
you,
do
Lord.
it?
Yeah. Didn't he do it?
Didn't he do it?
Listen,
And won't he
I'm telling
continue to
everybody,
do
I
it?
was a project kid. I'm project strong. Edgemere Project Strong.
Yes.
Shout out to Edgemere Project.
Yes, come
At the
through.
south side of Jamaica. This is called Evolution.
Can we talk about your
Jamaica Queens or like Jamaica the country? Hold on, let me adjust the volume real quick because I want to make sure y'all can hear it. I broke my well, I didn't break them, but my headphones broke a couple weeks back, so you know that's that. But
I know you were a
well, it's not that sad. I'll go out and get another pair eventually, but today we'll just have to cope with what we've got. So hopefully the quality of this reaction is good enough for you.
girl. I mean,
Absolutely.
when she starts singing, you'll understand. If you don't know who Kelly Price is, first of all, check yourself. Don't know how that happened.
As white women say all the time, I feel personally attacked.
But once she starts singing, you'll understand. You're a church girl at heart. But
Don't they say that? Don't they overuse that word? They need to be careful when using words like that because they have a pretty messed up history of abusing those words, right? I don't know. As you can tell, I don't get along with white women. But that's besides the point.
you came from the bottom.
Yeah.
You came from a very dangerous area.
Absolutely.
You came from the heat. Can you talk about that?
I can. I usually tell people, depending on the day you catch me, you're going to catch me being a part holy, a part heathen, or the greater sum of either, right? So my mom, thank you, Jesus, for balance, right?
Yes.
And I embrace both sides.
Yes.
Sometimes one is necessary on one day, and the
Absolutely.
other, praise God, amen.
Yes.
Anyway, so my mom was the preacher's kid, and met my dad, his family didn't go to church. He started going to church. Met my mom,
Yes.
and they got together. They were childhood sweethearts, and they were married at 18 and 17 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have a very good mixture
Yes.
of
Holy
Kenosha and Pastor Cavassier, right? So, seriously, so on my mom's side of the family, it was strictly old school Church of God in Christ Pentecostal. We couldn't wear pants, we couldn't play cards, couldn't listen to music that wasn't gospel. When I went to Nana's house,
Went to the same church.
When I went to Nana's house, it was 40s and Newports and spades and spit and dominoes, and so that was my life.
Yeah,
that
let's
was my
laugh
life.
every day.
Absolutely.
The thing about
Whiplash.
growing up in church, though, is especially for singers.
Yes.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but everybody sings in church. Everybody sings.
And in my family, they don't sing, they sing. And everybody plays, and everybody was starting with my almost 96-year-old grandma, who literally just passed
God
that
bless
down
her.
to the rest of us. Thank you, Jesus.
96-year-old grandmother who is kicking butt.
96, imagine that.
Did I hear that she had COVID and beat it?
She did. We lost my grandpa to COVID last year, and she beat it.
Goodness.
Praise God.
She beat
Shout
it.
out to your grandmother.
Yeah, grandma is she's every woman in real life.
Oh,
In
God.
real life, my grandma is every woman.
Would you say that because everybody sung in church that when you went to school and you were singing and stuff, that's when you found out that you were special? When did you find out that you were special?
Good question.
Is that it?
That when I went to school, because
And I think like we all have things that we're special at, that we're great at. So I would apply the same question to you. When did you find out you had a special gift or a special talent? And also tell me a little bit more about Kelly Price, like whatever she doesn't mention in this video. Like, you know, where is she from? What's her body of work? I know that I'll hear a whole lot more, but y'all clue me in.
That you were special.
You literally just, that when
It
I went
makes
to
sense.
school, because everybody in my house sang, everybody in my family sang, everybody at my granddaddy's church sang, and so going to school at like 4 years old, and the piano teacher is sitting there playing, and they got us singing all these little songs, and she's in a key, and the kid sitting next to me, she's London Bridge is falling down. The kid next to me is London Bridges, and I'm like, oh, you don't hear that?
That's not how we do it at Ebenezer Baptist.
Oh my
That's not how we
God!
do it.
And like, and I was perturbed. I kept looking at the kid next to me like, you don't hear that? You're in a whole other key than the teacher is in. The kid's hitting this like, and I swear to
Not
God,
Kelly at 7.
that is literally when I realized that what I did, everybody didn't do. To me, music was language. Because in my house, it was.
Okay, do this for me, Kelly Price. Do this for me.
Yes.
I want you to sing your favorite gospel hymn.
Okay.
Okay? Take me back. What was it?
I am so grateful that I have Christ in my life. What would my life be without him? It would be dark. Dream. That's why I'm grateful.
Come on.
So very grateful that I have Christ. I have him in my life. That's grandma's hands together here.
She's amazing. She's amazing. Usually I try to play the game along with the artist. So let me think of a song with lose. Man, how can I lose it? I don't know. Y'all help me out. What song has the word lose in it? Damn.
Ooh. I don't wanna lose the only love I've ever known.
Oh, that's the wrong song.
I've ever known. So, baby, don't you go. Don't you go.
Yeah, her voice is powerful.
That's the Soul of a Woman interlude. That's how I opened up the record.
Man.
Hi, Vaughn. Thank you. Thank you so much. My life will never be the same. My life will never be the same. There is a fullness to your voice that I remember hearing.
Oh, that's a good way to describe it, a fullness.
There's a fullness to your voice that it doesn't matter what she sings. That's when you know that you're anointed.
Yeah, God is good.
The word is belief.
I don't want to sing that song. Believe. Just make me believe it. Believe it when I see it. First, you gotta forgive me. Let me know everything gonna be okay. Even when that song with Party Next Door and Rihanna, believe it.
I believe the children are our future.
Teach them, babies.
Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be.
Oh, that was great.
Everybody searching for a hero. We all need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. And so I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the great.
She's the type that, like, the longer you let her go, the better she gets.
Love of all is happening to me. Oh my, I found the greatest love of all inside of tea.
He is fanning out. I love that.
My goodness.
That was a good word. That was a good word.
That was a good throat. That's one of my favorite songs. Forget the amazing vocals and the musicianship behind it. The lyrics of that song.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's so beautifully written.
I loved it when Peebo did it. I loved it when Whitney did it. I loved it. And it was one of the first songs I sang as a solo in school. Yeah.
Speaking of songwriting,
yes.
I knew some of these, but I did not know all of them.
Yeah, this is what I want to know. Who has she written
You've
for?
written with Kanye. You've written with
Wow.
DJ Khaled, K.
Wow.
Michelle, Mary J. Blige, and I'm sure a whole bunch more that did not fit on this card because there's no space remaining.
Has she written with Beyonce? Tell me which song she's written.
Okay, would you consider yourself, songwriting and singing, does one mean more to you than the other?
Writing.
Wow, wait, really?
Yeah. I can be anything I want in a song. I have an audience that needs to see Kelly be Kelly a certain way.
Right.
But the great thing about writing for the very diverse group of artists that I have, I've written for Bonnie Raitt, I've written for Lil' Kim. I've written
Wow.
for,
My goodness.
So literally, you know what I mean? So if you don't want to hear me sing a Lil' Kim song, you don't want to hear me like, she don't know, like, I thought she
That's not her.
Yeah, what are you doing? But when I'm writing for whoever I'm writing for, it's not about me in that moment. It's about an adaptation of what they want to say about their life or their situation. And so I have to format it and I have to word it for them.
Like they would
so
do it.
I literally, to me, being a songwriter gives me the opportunity through lyrics to be like at a masquerade ball.
You know what's funny is before we started filming, Mariah Carey song, I always think my baby
Oh
was
my God,
playing.
one of the most fun
Always
songs.
be my
I did not
baby.
know that you-
Cause you'll always be my baby. Oh, that was a good song. That was a hit.
Your vocals are in the song.
Yeah. All over
What
the
can
place.
you sing some of the parts that your voice is in?
You know, I automatically go back into background singer mode whenever I hear anything that I've done with anybody as a background singer. So when you were hearing me go,
Wow.
always be my baby.
I did not know that was her.
Always be you'll always be a part of me. I'm part of you indefinitely. No way you're ever gonna shake me. Ooh, darling, cause you'll always be my baby. And we'll linger on. Time can't erase this feeling so strong. No way you're ever gonna shake me. You'll always be my baby.
Give it up for those background vocals on the top. They were giving.
MC
They were
background
good.
vocals too. That was probably the most fun part of being a part of that creative process, because she would be right there in the booth and she would be like, all right, let's come up with some more parts.
Yeah.
And she was just always very, and then with the hand, okay, let's do that. Okay. How many times, like, we were the queens of stack of vocals.
Yeah. What is one thing, maybe that's it, stacking vocals, that you learned by being under, I mean, would you call it the tutelage of Mariah?
Absolutely.
Or,
Stacking vocals.
Yeah.
And having to lock into other textures of my voice, because as a church girl, you sing and you singing with Mariah, I had to discover and more so use airy textures, lighter textures, breathier textures. That's not necessarily required singing in church.
Not at all.
You gut punching every time you open your mouth in church.
They won't stand up.
Airy, lighter, breathier. Wow, they really got terms to describe like the different sounds that they make with their voices.
Yeah, just,
I thought it was just like unspoken, like people sing differently, but wow, they really got this down to a science.
Standing behind her, and I had a vision of love, and little things like we'd be in the vocal booth, and she would say, put an H at the beginning of that word. It's not a word with an H on it, but it gives the.
Wow.
So I learned
she's a legend.
That's genius.
Yeah,
That's cute.
I learned how to work the other textures of my voice. It enabled me to incorporate that even in my own music, which is why on every album, you're going to get those Kelly Price power records, but there's always going to be something, at least one song that's a little more poppier, a little light, airy, breathier, because I love that texture. I love that. So it takes a lot of discipline.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Careful.
Okay.
This is a lovely song.
Okay.
Kelly, if I give you the word friend.
Oh, rest in peace, Biz Marquis. But you say I'm just a friend.
She was my best friend, hung with me through thick and thin. We were sisters to the very end. And now I can't believe it, cause she was a friend of mine. Hey, she left with my man.
Dirty.
She
Did her dirty.
Cheated and took all I had. She was a friend of mine.
No, I don't think she was your friend.
She used what she knew. She lied, cheated, and left me confused.
Tramp.
Have fun.
Trick.
That is a big song. You love that song. That's
Oh my God, I love Roxy. There she goes.
song, Kelly's song. Let's get into Kelly's solo career.
Yes.
I want to know about your first time sitting in, I don't know, an office, whatever they have y'all sit in, when you are getting ready to sign a deal.
Woo.
The
Jive
first time.
Records?
Is it Jive?
Jive Records.
Okay.
Jive Records. On my way into the city. On my way to go sign. My lawyer called me. He's like, today's signing day. Come into the city. Head to the office. I'm on the Long Island Railroad, headed into the city. My cell phone rings. Okay, so before you come to the office, I need you to go by Jive offices. They're saying they need you to come by there before you come sign the paperwork. Okay, fine, no problem. Go to Jive.
I feel like something's wrong here. The way it's going through the story.
Yeah, but wrong, but also right in the
Okay.
end. Jeff Finster, who was then vice president or senior vice president at Jive Records, says, okay, well, we all know what we're here for. Like, literally just said, we all know what we're here for. Let's just go ahead and say what needs to be said. So I'm looking at him like, what needs to be said? So we know that you're going to record this record, but we're going to need you to lose a considerable amount of weight before we put this record out. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking and I'm like, whew, okay, so my face is getting warm. I feel my tear ducts filling up and I'm telling myself, you better not cry. So I take a beat, I take a breath, and I look at him and I say, okay, so yeah, I'm a big girl. This is something that we all know. We knew that when we started negotiating this contract pretty much. And I've been a big girl my whole life. So I just, my question for you would be, who gets to decide how much is enough? Like, what if I lose 50, 60?
What is
That's a good question.
If I'm okay with what I look like and you decide that you feel like I need to lose more, like, who decides when enough is enough?
Good question.
And there was no answer for that. I thanked everybody. And I got up and I left.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
I'm actually glad that it happened, because the flip side of that is what if I went to my lawyer's office and signed the paperwork and it was sent back? I would have been locked into a deal and probably sat on a shelf.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, so like oh man. I'm sorry she had that experience. So a few things. We know that the music industry is highly superficial and commercialized, and that oftentimes we as consumers gravitate towards sex, right? The old saying that sex sells, and that's true. Say what you want. You could be delusional about it, but part of the reason why you watch Megan Thee Stallion music videos and Cardi B music videos, or Chris Brown music videos, or Trey Songz music videos, is because these people oftentimes have their shirts off, and like I said, sex sells. So okay, that's a fact, right? So you have this guy who's running this record label that he wants to sustain, but he went about it the wrong way. Because, like, first, you don't do that to somebody you don't do that at a business meeting to somebody and catch them off guard like that in front of like other whatever workers and colleagues and stuff like that, because you could risk like embarrassing them and humiliating them and fucking up their self-esteem. So if it is the case that you own this record label, that you want to be successful and profitable, and you know that in order for it to be so, your artists have to fit a certain image, because that's what the consumers want, then, and we also have to remember that like back in this day, like Lizzo wasn't even, I would imagine, like big girls weren't getting the love that they deserved back in these days. So I get it from the record label perspective, but that's something you call somebody like beforehand, like before the meeting, and just be like, hey, I'm not gonna bring this up at the meeting, but I wanted to talk to you about like the image that we're trying to keep as a company, and sex sells and things of that nature, and I wanted to run this by you, and first and foremost, we want you to be a part of our record label for the long term. We want you here in the long run. And so we're not only worried about you as an artist and making you great as an artist, we also want to take care, we want to make sure that your physical health is taken care of. So, would you be willing to cut X amount of pounds in order to, before your album comes out? And if she says no, then that's that. But the fact that he didn't have a number either is problematic, because she's right. How much is enough? And if the record label can't answer a question like that, then chances are she could have lost 40, 50 pounds, but according to them, it still wouldn't be enough. So you're going to have your artist be self-conscious, walking around self-conscious all the time, thinking or wondering if like they're pleasing you not only with their artistry but also with like their physical image. And nah, man, you gotta take people as they are, maybe give her the option, but you don't do that in front of other people. And you also have to have like emotional intelligence to not just say, we need you to lose weight. It definitely has to be done in an empathetic and compassionate way, and it has to come from the heart, and it also has to be a compromise. So if he threw out a number and said like, I don't know, we need you to lose 40 pounds. And she was like, well, I don't want to lose more than 20. And I think if I lost 20, I would be okay with that. Then as a record guy, maybe you come to a compromise and say, all right, how about 25? And then she says yes or no. but you give options and you also like act in a way that's empathetic, in a way that like benefits your whatever enterprise you're trying to run. So whoever that guy was, he just fucked everything up.
Body to look at and say, that's me. You're in a lane all by yourself.
That's a good point too. That's a good point too. Yeah. She would have been able to appeal to an entirely different demographic. I didn't even think of that.
You just go in and master it.
Like
All you gotta do
Lizzo.
is be you. There are more. He literally said there are more women in the world that look like you than don't.
This one's just for me, honestly.
See, yeah, then I think, yeah, for him it wasn't coming from a good place. So fuck giving him the benefit of the doubt.
On the card.
Okay.
I'm making it up. The word is secret.
Oh, secret. Secret. My secret, your secret, our secret.
Do you want my secret or you want?
I want your secret.
Okay, I got a secret. It's here in my heart, and I can't even tell my friends how much I adore you.
Come on.
I'm falling apart. I gotta keep it deep within the way that I love you. I can't even say. I promise not to tell a soul, but it won't last too long. This feeling's so strong that I can't hide that breathy thing. So thank you, Mariah. I'm feeling inside. There's no H there, but it works. Right?
Yeah, I see what she did.
It's coming together.
Me, cause I wanna let the world know it's you I'm loving. I can't hide. Yeah, that's that whole breathy situation. Yeah,
Not you sounding like you sound just like you did all those years ago. It has gone nowhere.
Thank you, Jesus.
The word is sick.
Oh, that's the reason I'm so sick of love songs. So done with wishing you were still here. Yeah, that Neil song.
Sick, Kelly. Sick. Buzzer. Sick. I can't hit the buzzer. Sick.
Oh,
my God.
Kelly, no.
What is happening? I don't know a song with the word sick in it.
No. Kelly.
I don't know a song. Do you know
I'm
a
so
song?
sick of love songs, so sad and slow. That's one. That's what came to my head.
Yeah.
That was Neo.
No, but it was tired. He didn't say sick.
No, the name of
So tired of love songs.
what's the name of the song?
That don't even sound right. It's,
And he does say it in the lyrics as well.
oh, so tired of tears.
That's
Yeah.
a buzzer, baby.
Sorry, I got a buzzer.
What about night?
Oh, day and night, the lonely stoner seems to be night at night.
Tell you how I feel about you night and day. We go to the holidays.
Come on.
1, 2, 3, slow it down. Silent night.
I love her.
Holy night.
I'm sick.
Oh, night.
Divine.
Divine. Oh, night. Night.
And just like that, it's December.
It's December.
I got slapped into December. You love to sing, and I love that you love it.
Yeah, she is excellent.
I love that you love it.
It's my peace place. It's my happy place.
When did you jump to the idea of I want to pursue this as a career? How old were you, and what was the situation?
So a very pregnant 18-year-old who was homeless and went to my grandparents. I didn't tell them that I was pregnant, but I was like, can I bunk downstairs for a bit until I can figure out what I'm going to do? And I hadn't told them that I was pregnant.
Yeah.
But I had friends, musicians at church, who were trying to turn into producers.
Okay.
And so they needed their demos done. And they would be like, yo, Kel, can you come through the studio and sing this demo? So I was singing all my friends' demos. From one of those demos, ended up getting locked into a situation where I was doing a background gig.
Yeah.
The George Michael gig, believe it or
Yes.
not. That was the first
Wow.
professional gig. And
For
then
George
the George
Michael.
Michael gig a month later turned into Mariah Carey for the Grammys, which turned
That's
into
crazy.
MTV Unplugged, which turned into like 5 years of being on the road with her. And so,
Wow.
so how that happened, 18 pregnant, not wanting to bring a baby into my grandparents' house, and they were paying. The church didn't even give us a fish sandwich for free when we sang. I sang my whole life in church, and then when they would sell chicken sandwiches on Friday night, like I couldn't even get a free chicken sandwich. I still had to buy my own chicken sandwich. So
they still charging.
yeah,
House
because it was the pastor's aid department, and they was trying to meet their dues, so they weren't trying to give away a free
y'all
chicken
could
sandwich.
afford one less piece of catfish or tilapia.
Right.
So, with that, not wanting to burden anybody, knowing that I had this baby coming and nobody knew about it other than God, the doctor, my sister, and the gentleman that I was pregnant by. How
did you do that? How did you keep that a secret?
Well, I was already fat.
Good question.
Kelly, shut it now. Now, Kelly.
So, and true story, my grandfather, pure comedy. When I did break down to tell my grandparents that I was pregnant, my grandmother looked at me and said, I already knew I was waiting on you to tell me.
Wow.
My grandfather said,
I love that.
Oh, I just thought you was getting fat. I just thought you were gaining weight.
By the time you went on the road, you had already given birth.
No, I was on the road with Mariah, very pregnant.
What?
I was on the Grammy stage, very pregnant. I was on the MTV Unplugged stage, very pregnant. I took my first international trip with her when I was 6 months pregnant.
It's amazing what women can do, man.
Entire staff and everybody, they went over and above to make sure that I was good, that I felt okay. There was always a doctor on call. Like it was the best first long-term gig that anybody could ever have. So through my pregnancies with both of my children, I was on stage with Mariah on my due date.
What?
Yeah.
Did you get
I did not, but there was an ambulance. We were at Madison Square Garden. There was an ambulance there, and there was an EMT standing up to the side. And literally, I'm singing, ooh, ooh, baby. How about
Build?
That's wild. Oh, man. Build. He's throwing some curveballs at me today.
See, now you're going to make me go all the way to church.
Go all the way.
Build your hopes on things eternal. Hold to God's unchanging hand. Hold to his hand. God's unchanging hand. Hold to his hand. God's unchanging hand. You ought to build your hopes on things eternal. Hold to God's unchanging hand. Yeah. I'm a church girl.
Oh, man. I feel like I'm in church right now.
Yes, Lord. Where did I get that from?
You still make gospel music. We're gonna talk about your new project in a moment. You kind of go back and forth into the genres. But
gotta be in touch with those roots.
I'm just like, that.
Oh, we churches down on friend of mine. We church down on friend of mine in concert.
Right
the way. We should have counted up the cost, but instead we got lost in the seconds, in the minutes, in the hours. As we lay, we forgot about tomorrow. As we lay, no.
You better soften.
It's morning. Yay!
This is my happy place.
This is my happy place. This is my happy place.
We are happy together.
Yes, happy, joy.
This is just so amazing to me. I'm such a fan. This is just absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. This has been amazing.
See, this is a life worth living, man. If you have a passion, if you have a dream, make sure you chase that thing because it is attainable and it is possible. You just got to visualize it and put things in place to achieve it. And Terrell, I think, is a good example of that because he's crossing off everything on his bucket list, it seems. And it's a beautiful thing to witness.
There's a hole in my heart. My soul is bleeding. I need to free my mind and say what I'm feeling. 'Cause Lord knows, Lord to church, you can say, I'm tired.
Oh, come on.
I am weak, and I am worn.
I love that seamless transition.
Through the storms, through the night, lead me on.
You know, those runs, those riffs, that is something else.
To the light. Lord, please take my hand. Precious Lord, and lead me home. Can you help me say yes?
Wow.
Huh? Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. 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 Yes, Lord.
Wow.
Yes, Lord.
Ooh.
Yes, Lord.
She's taking her voice to so many different places, you know, it's a sight to see.
Yes, Lord.
It's like,
yes, Lord. Oh, yes, Lord. We can't do it because I'll be laid out. I gotta stop.
See, when you think she's gonna go high, she goes low. When you think she's gonna go right, she goes left. When you amazing, amazing.
I gotta stop.
Because what I was thinking about was your story throughout that whole time.
Yeah.
And how you said yes, Lord, to all the things you were.
And also the highs and lows.
Singing because you knew it.
Yeah.
You said this belongs to me.
Yeah.
I can see it. My dream is right
The
there.
detours.
And you put it all out on the line. You did what you had to do. You didn't make excuses. You were homeless and you were still doing it.
It starts with faith, and even with the pain sprinkled in there. That's a part of the recipe too. But you have to decide whether or not the pain is going to do this to you, or if it's going to be the thing that makes you do this. And I would say to anybody that's struggling with whether or not they're going to allow their pain to drag them backwards, or to stagnate their growth. Think about where the pain takes you without the faith and without the promises of God in it. It's not a happy place.
For the last time this season, I'm telling you, it's been unprovoked this entire season. Faith.
Yeah.
I want to say half the artists that have sat in this chair has brought that word up, brought up a situation that was faith-based without me provoking it at all.
Yeah.
It is the season of faith.
It is the season of
Literally.
faith. In this project, aside from wanting to release, aside from wanting to help bring some joy and some laughter and some dancing back into people's feet, I really wanted to challenge us, whether you consider yourself a believer or not, to double down on the necessity of grace and humanity, period. The acronym that I came up with, or I couldn't have come up with it on my own, but really in thinking about it, grace is a gift. It's responsibility, it's accountability, but it's given with compassion and empathy. How many times I failed, this is the essence of it, you, and how many times you've seen me through. You took my disgrace and gave me your amazing grace. That's the essence of the song. He took my disgrace.
I love that.
And he didn't shame me. He didn't shame me and he didn't cancel me. Instead, he gave me grace. And that's what we have to be willing to do for each other.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, that was
I
amazing.
cannot imagine a better person to send us out. And
Oh man. No, let me just
till
let
the
it go.
next time. Thank you guys again for watching.
All right, this brought me so much joy. I really enjoyed this, and if you enjoyed this reaction, please comment, like, and subscribe. I will see y'all next time. Peace.